Hey everybody, how's it going? Today I wanted to do a video on Google employees that are looking to unionize and some of my thoughts on this. This is an article from Bloomberg about Google workers unionizing or looking to unionize. And they bring up in the article some of the things that are bothering the workers. It appears the workers are bothered by things like compensation, how much money they're getting, how the employees are classified, let's say the contractors versus the real employees. And they're also concerned over the activist employees that were shown the door in sometimes less than legal ways and that were also spied on as a result of their activism. Now, whether or not you think it's a good idea that employees of these companies become activists during their work hours and put their energy and their brains and their time into activism for political issues rather than into making the company money, I'm going to put that aside. Because that's really that's going to derail the topic of the video, and it's going to detract from the overall point when it's a very small portion of what's going on here. What I want to focus on is what it is that a union looks to do. At its core, a union seeks security and proper compensation for the people that make the company money. So if your work allows the company to make massive profits, the whole idea is that if your work is responsible for this amount of the company profits and they're giving you this much, how about this much? Again, you're not the business owner, you're not the one who took all the risk, you're not going to get this much of the company profits if the company profited this much, but if you're getting this, maybe you should get this. That's what unions look to do. They look to do that, and they also look to have better job security. So, for instance, let's say one of your employees cuts their own hair because Cuomo has all the barbershops closed, then he fucks up his sideburns. You can't just go over to the employee and say, your sideburns look stupid today, you're fired. If you're in a union, typically there's going to be some level of protection. You got to have a better reason than that to get fired. Now, let's say that the Google employees actually get what it is that they're looking for. They get more fitting compensation. It is more difficult to fire them for stupid reasons. They actually get classified as what they are, which are employees, not contract workers, so that they can be treated more fairly, get proper benefits, and they can speak with management in a way that is meaningful. What I find interesting is that even in this case, the majority of the people that allow Google to make a profit who do the work for Google will still not be represented. Even if every single employee of Google and Alphabet are represented by a union and get good representation, it does not mean that a majority of the people that make the company money will be represented. So let's say you have General Motors or Ford or any of these have a factory, and at the factory, all the employees unionize. The people that are producing the product for the company, Ford or General Motors, are now going to be represented by the union. At Google, if every employee is represented by a union, you still have a very large chunk of the people responsible for making Google and Alphabet money that get zero representation whatsoever. And it really does make you wonder, should it just be them that's looking to unionize? So what do I mean by that? Many of the systems that allow people to make money at Google were created a very long time ago. It may not have even been created by current employees. I'm not saying that the people that work at Google right now don't do anything, but many of the systems like AdWords, AdSense, the basic search engine, all of that, allow people that create content, that create websites to bring traffic to Google's ads and allow Google to make money off of the advertisers. So much of the income coming in at Google is not coming in directly as a result of what current employees are doing. It's coming in as a result of the people that make content that choose to have Google ads on their site, that choose to allow Google to inject cookies from their website, from people who upload content to YouTube and have monetization turned on so that Google can charge companies to have ads on these videos. Many of the people doing that in the trenches, in the coal mines work at Google are not the employees or even the contractors. It's people that sign up for their services and utilize those services. It's people who make videos on YouTube. It's people who have websites, news websites with comment sections that tons of people show up to and click on stuff on these websites. And those individuals would have absolutely no representation regardless of whether all of Google's employees have a union. So here's one example of this being a problem when it comes to the people that actually make the platform money. And so some of the silly examples, but they matter. Eli, the computer guy, is someone I've been watching for about 8 or 9 years on and off on YouTube, and we email back and forth every now and then. Recently, he did a video on a response to something Google's doing. Google wants to ban the word. So Google, now to be clear, Holocaust denial is a bad thing. Google wants to cure the YouTube of Holocaust denial by banning the word hollowhooks. And Eli did a video saying how this is not going to work because bigots have a different way of communicating. So if you know the people that do this type of stuff, what they'll do is they'll comment on his video and say, look at the ears. Oh, yeah, look at the nose. What do you think of the nose? Yeah, I think the nose. Yeah, the ear. Yeah, he looks like a guy that actually thinks the banana happened. Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure he believes in the banana hoax. And you know what they mean when they say banana. They're going to mean the Holocaust, but they're actually saying the word banana. Like, even if you ban this particular word, they're just going to use the language in different ways to communicate back and forth with each other because that's what they do. And most of the time, they're not particularly smart either. Like most of the people in that category, not Jewish. Nothing wrong with Jewish people. Not Jewish. You know, they think that because there's two ends. Ross Mann sounds Jewish. One end Jewish. Two ends German. But anyway, this is something that so I get a lot of the same shit that Eli does in his comment section, and it's horrific. It's horrible. You know, you ban a lot of it, but it is what it is. It's the internet. It's a fucking cesspool when it comes to comment sections. Eli having a name Eli, he gets a lot of that shit. Me having the last name Rossman, again, bigots don't know the difference between one end and two end because bigots are fucking dumb. But it is something that shows up in our comment section. So Eli did a video where he said that banning this word would not be as effective as giving people greater control over their comment section to be able to manually sift through things. And he did a video on this, and his video was taken down for hate speech. He appealed the strike, and the strike stayed up. Now, anybody with a brain that watched that video would realize that there is no hate speech in that video. He's actually talking down to bigots and saying how stupid and dumb they are, and this would be, and he's suggesting, A, why Google's proposed system to deal with bigots would not work, and B, what would be a better system from the standpoint of a technology professional. Like or dislike his opinion, it's not fucking hate speech. It's stupid to call that hate speech, but they do that. Now, what do people typically say when you look to unionize? What they'll say is some garbage about directly dealing with the workers. It says, we've always worked hard to create a supportive and rewarding workplace for our workforce, says Kara Silverstein, Director of People Operations at Google, in a statement. Of course, our employees have protected rights that we want to support, labor rights that we support, but as we've always done, we'll continue engaging directly with all our employees. Now, if people believe that they could engage directly with you and actually have a direct conversation where something changed, they likely would not go through the pain in the ass of dealing a union. Dealing with unions is going to be more of a pain in the ass than simply going over to your boss and saying, X is a problem for me, what do you think? And the boss just solving the problem to your satisfaction then and there. I'm not trying to insult unions, I'm just saying, if you could go to your boss and say, I think things should be X way, and your boss just did them X way, you probably would not feel the need to have a union. People are going to a union because they don't have that ability to have any direct communication. And when you look at what's going on, even at Google, you have some sort of contact, the person that hired you, someone there that you could at least send an email to and say, this happened. They may ignore your email, they may give you some bullshit-ass canned response, but at the end of the day, there's actually a person that you can email when something screwed up happens. Yet if you're someone on the Google AdSense or AdWords or doing YouTube, that doesn't exist. There's nobody that you can speak to. I have 1.35 million subscribers in this platform, and if something screwy goes on, I'm done. You know, again, there's nobody for me to speak to. There's nobody that's going to there's nobody I can deal with. And again, I'm not saying that I'm not a PewDiePie, I'm not anything like that. But I see the amount of money that YouTube is able to pay me, and if they're getting like a 45 or 55, whatever the hell the revenue split is now, chunk of that, they can afford to have someone who I can speak to for 30 minutes a month if I have an issue, but that doesn't exist. Another example of this would be when it comes to the advertising section of Google. If you take a look at this video I did a while ago, I was talking about how right after Google started getting serious about advertising their Pixel smartphone and established a partnership with YouBreak to be an authorized repair center, posting ads as a repair service on AdWords just stopped being a thing that you could do. It's a very, very funny coincidence, Google. Funny how that works, that people that were advertising for 6 or 7 years can advertise once you enter that industry. Just odd, man. So, yeah, I was talking about this and how they say that you're not allowed to do advertising here, even if you were bringing money to the platform. So they were saying that their excuse in the blog was, it's very difficult to tell what is legitimate, and since it's too difficult to tell what is legitimate, we're just not doing it anymore. Again, they had no problem telling who was legitimate for like the 7, 8, or 9 years before they had YouBreak iFixes and Authorized Repair Center, or before then. It's aggravating. But so I remember posting in this video, on Google's own platform, I am one of the best rated logic board repair shops in the country, and most rated. On YouTube, I show up first anytime you search for this stuff. On Google search engine, I show up first when you search for logic board repair on these devices. So every other area of Google sees me as an authoritative source, but I'm not authoritative enough to advertise. Like, really? I mean, again, who can you speak to? Who can you have a direct relationship with? The work that I do, even just uploading this video to YouTube, I am in some way, shape, or form a contract employee or something doing work at Google. I am bringing them money I'm doing work, and that work, if people watch this video without ad block, most of them want to use ad block because I have an audience in a tech area, so like a good 80 or 90% use ad block. Even the 10% that don't, that is money that is going to Google. And who do I speak to when I have a problem? You don't. If the issue that Google employees are having, where they're being let go, and they think that they're being let go for illegitimate reasons that are nonsensical, the same way that our ads get tossed off for reasons that are nonsensical, the same way that Eli has 2 strikes on his channel over the course of a month now for reasons that are nonsensical. He did an article about the NHS and COVID. It was literally reading a news article. I mean, reading a news article from authoritative sources, and Google gave him a second channel strike for misinformation as he's reading the news. They gave him something for hate speech by literally advising Google on how to have there be less hate speech on the platform. And I wouldn't be surprised if in, a month or 2, Eli's channel is gone. Again, whether or not you like Eli's channel or not is beside the point. The point is that a large group of the people that actually bring money to Google are not the employees that work at the company. Even if everybody at Google were to be unionized, a very large number of people, and dare I even guess a majority of the people that bring Google their revenue, their profits, would not be represented in any way, shape, or form by this arrangement. And it really does beg the question in this in the world that we're moving into, where we're not necessarily working with employers, but we're working with platforms. What are we? Like, we're not employees, but at the same time, we're making you money, and we are doing work. So what are we, and what rights do we have, and what could we do if we banded together in some way, shape, or form? So, and what would we be able to get out of the company? For instance, like, would we be able to get it if we're bringing you X amount of money, X amount of dollars at some point in time? When you have some stupid ass strike, I get to speak to someone before you just fire me. Or when we get to a certain point of revenue, you need to tell us before you ban an entire industry. You need to have a dialogue with us before you ban an entire industry. Not because it's the law, but because we would just simply wash our hands with you otherwise. We would just leave and go somewhere else. And I don't really have a set structure in mind yet for how this would work. I don't have a set structure in mind for what the demands would be, or how you would get people involved. But it is something to think about, because again, if Google's own employees do unionize, that's really not going to solve the problem for most of the people responsible for bringing them money. Dare I say it, I wouldn't be surprised if Google doesn't even necessarily resist the unionization that much, because a majority of their profits may be coming from people that are not even seen in any way, sense or traditional sense as employees of the company. The people that create the content on the websites that have ads on them, the people that upload videos to YouTube and so on, and the people that actually create the content that Google needs in order to have their business. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm kind of curious. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.